he's testing the open market. So he's essentially a rental. What can Marcus Stroman get you in return? Tampa Bay Rays are a team that's linked to him. I'm looking at a couple of their prospects right now that I'm sure you've seen when they played for the Montgomery Biscuits. I'll get into them in just a second. But first, your overall thoughts on Marcus Stroman. Is he more valuable right now than Cody Bellinger, considering what's on the block pitching wise?
If you trade Marcus Stroman, and I think that's going to happen too, you got to get top end pitching prospects in return. And the Cubs were able to do that last year. And when they went out and got Ben Brown, Ben Brown is a top end pitching prospect. He's a strikeout guy. He's had a lot of success. He's eventually going to get to the big leagues. And they made a few of those trades at the deadline last year, and they paid off. You look at what's available in the market right now, at least with a week to go. And Verlander, older pitcher, has had, success in the postseason. There's a chance that he goes. Giolito, the White Sox have had just a dreadful season. And, I mean, well, we should talk about that, but
we'll get into
it. Yeah, surprisingly, the Sox have been terrible. And I'm guessing that, Giolito would be somebody else either. So I would say that Stroman, right there in the mix of the best available pitching, except if Ohtani were to go on the market. And you throw that Ohtani in there, and that changes the entire trade landscape, right? Because a team's going to have to throw their entire system at the Angels to get him. So with that in mind, right, I'm just going to assume that the Angels keep Ohtani and that Stroman is in the mix as one of the starters. And when I put him in the list of Verlander and Giolito and maybe Bieber could be one of those guys.
Bieber has control, which is why he'll be sought after if the Guardians do decide to cut loose. Eduardo Rodriguez of the Tigers is a good one. James Paxton's dealing right now. 2 Cardinals and Flaherty and Montgomery could be on the block.
Flaherty would be good. Yeah, but look, I say this year Stroman's been as good as anyone. I mean, he it just gets a lot of outs, and he's a competitor, and so I think he could get a team's going to have to give up a really good pitching prospect. You talk about Tampa Bay, they've just gotten surpassed by Baltimore. I'm sure they'd love to have that veteran with a little bit of fire. What about Toronto, right? They could use him right now, and that's where he was before, like he criticized the front office. You think that everyone could patch that up for a trade? Hey, I think it could happen, but I think that the Cubs are in a really good spot to add a starting pitcher to their system. And the biggest criticism that I have of the Cubs and their development, and this goes back since Theo took over, is that they're so worried about players getting hurt that the pitch counts and the inning counts are just way, way too low for my liking. I want to see pitchers go out, learn how to pitch the third time through the lineup in the minor leagues. I want them to work out of jams. I want them to throw 100 pitches. I don't think that you throw them into the big leagues and go, oh, yeah, by the way, that 80 that you were throwing in AA and AAA, up here we do 100. I think you let that happen. You see it with the Braves and what they've been able to do, one of the best organizations and the best organization in baseball, and one of the best organizations at baseball as far as developing starting pitching. So for the Cubs, it almost benefits them to go trade for starting pitching, or someone else has developed it and maybe they just punch it into the big leagues.
For those of you that don't know, Mick Gillespie's probably called about 17,000 innings of AA baseball, I'd say. I don't know if you have the Larry Ward, countdown clock on how many games you've done, but one of the things you have called is the Tampa Bay Rays minor league affiliate AA Montgomery Biscuits. So you've seen a lot of these players, and now that the Rays are directly in talks per MLB trade rumors with the Cubs and Marcus Stroman, I'm looking at their 4th and 5th top prospects. Kyle Manzardo, first baseman, Mason Montgomery, left-handed pitcher. 2 ingredients that if you throw into the Cubs pot, it would help next year, and 2 guys that are supposed to be big league ready by next year at the latest. Thoughts on those 2?
Yeah, look, I didn't see the first baseman, but I saw Mason Montgomery, and he's really good. He can mix his pitches up. He throws a lot of strikes. And again, Tampa Bay is one of these organizations that they don't baby their starting pitching. I mean, they let these guys go out there and develop. And I always thought it was funny that Mason Montgomery pitches for the Montgomery Biscuits. So his, first name
How many times did you weave that into the broadcast?
I loved it. I said,
what do you say, everybody? Mason Montgomery on the mound in Montgomery.
It's the little things that make me happy, Chuck. I mean, come on, Montgomery pitching for Montgomery, and you would have figured that would have happened before, but he's the only guy that can ever say that in their organization's history. But, yeah, look, Tampa Bay's got the type of prospects that you want.